everybody, my name's Luna and welcome to Crit Role Conspiracies, the show where we take a deep dive into all things Critical Role. Today's video is sponsored by the Mammoth Chronicles Kickstarter, but more on that later. Just to note that I am going to be talking about EXU Calamity in this episode, so beware of spoilers. Firstly, who the hell is this guy? What just happened? I felt like I was having a fever dream or something. The episode kicks off right where we left off with Dusk, who we learn is actually called Safaid, holding on to Fern and to Birdie, revealing their true changeling form. Birdie tells Fern to run, turns invisible, and tries to get away, and Fern looked so sad and so betrayed in this moment, it gave me flashbacks to Jurassic Park.
He left us! He left us!
There are some very tense moments where fights keep breaking out and then simmering down again, and then they start fighting again, and then they start simmering down again. The party seem extremely conflicted about what to do and whether they should be listening to you or to Birdie or to both of them. It is all over the place, but eventually they do start talking, and oh boy, do we learn so much lore this episode. I took so many notes I could barely keep up. Let's break it down together. We have to start with the huge revelation that Fern is Ruidus born.
You were born Exandrian before we took you back to the Fae. You're born under a flash of that ruddy-ass moon, and since we brought you back, that moon's been showing through in the Feywild where it wasn't supposed to be. No one believed us, and we've been looking into it for a while. And so we had to take something to help us figure out what the hell is going on.
This was so shocking. I did not see this coming at all. Like, this just completely blindsided me. I thought the whole story about Ruidus was going to be all to do with Imogen, and now we have this curveball thrown at us with Fern. We're now at the point where we have so many connections between the moon or the moons and the characters that I no longer think that this can be a coincidence. First, we have Fern and presumably Imogen, or at least her mother, being Ruidus born. 2, we have Orym, who has his big moon, little moon tattoo representing himself and his husband Will. 3, we have Chetney, who is a werewolf whose physical form is literally beholden to the moon. Laudna was reborn around the time of a celestial solstice. We know this from campaign 1. The only ones that I'm not sure about are Ashton and FCG. Ashton does have in their character art, the animated character art that appears during the show, has sort of like stars and meteors shooting through the background. So, you know, that's some space vibes. FCG though, I don't know, but there could be something waiting to be revealed. Okay, so back to Fern being Ruidus born. The Callaways left the Feywild whilst Birdie was pregnant, I suppose, due to some tensions that they mentioned with other Fey, other frustrations they called it. And they had kind of like a little bit of a holiday in Exandria. And Fern was born in the Verdant Expanse, which is in Tal'Dorei, under the light of a red moon. But not only that, Birdie described the entire forest glowing crimson. The Callaways brought Fern back to the Feywild, and shortly after that, the red moon started appearing in the skies in the Feywild. This had never happened before. Catha, the large silver moon, has shone in the Feywild before, and that is because Catha is associated with and potentially the creation of the Moonweaver, one of the prime deities. And before the divergence, the Moonweaver used to spend a lot of time in the Feywild, so there's a very strong connection there. Birdie explains that once they returned to the Feywild, Ollie started having these visions of the red moon tearing through the Feywild. They tried to warn the Seelie court, but they were kind of laughed out and cast out. It seems like there is a bit of history there with them being criminals or kind of shady folks, so they were not really listened to. And the Unseelie court was actually trying to use the power of the red moon. They were trying to harness the boons that it granted. Birdie and Ollie discovered that they had masked the presence of the red moon from the other Fae in the Feywild, so people didn't even really notice that the red moon was there. And not only that, they met with some people from the material plane, some people from Exandria. One of those people was Odahan, the leader of the Paragon's Call and the mysterious figure that has been appearing in Imogen's dreams, and the other one is just described as an elven man. I'm wondering if this could be Vali Detrana, who we know was an elven man who was working with Ira and Treshy out of the moon towers, or, look, you know what, if Matt wanted to throw a real loop at us and like really make things crazy, it could be Will, Orym's husband, obviously before he died. But yes. The Unseelie Corp were trying to harness the power of this moon by building an arcane machine using a powerful artifact called the Moontide's Crown. Birdie and Ollie stole it and then started building their own machine, and a machine that is designed to try and observe Ruidus a little bit more, because apparently it sort of evades observation. It's really hard to see what's happening on it. They are on a tight timeline because there is an apogee solstice, which is like an extra fancy solstice that only happens every 120 years or so. There is one happening in about a month, and they're really worried that something big and really bad is going to happen. Alright, so what kind of effect could Ruidus be having on the Feywild? Well, we do know that in the Feywild there has been some kind of corruption known as the Null Rock. This is the rock that Imogen had been attuned to at some point, and that this corruption has sort of been slowly spreading. I'm really interested in corruption and how it relates to Ruidus, because in the Call of the Netherdeep we learn this little, tidbit about Ruidus. During the Founding, a time when the gods still walked the face of Exandria, the world's divine creators discovered an unidentifiable power seeping through the fabric of reality. Legends assert that this alien influence was a threat to all life on Exandria, and the gods banded together to banish it. This cancerous incursion of dark power is said to have crystallized into Ruidus, the small vermilion moon that hangs in the sky along with Cartha, the world's natural moon. The gods agreed to create a tale about Ruidus to conceal its alien origin from the mortals of the world, informing them that it was a moon of ill omen and its magical influence was always to be avoided. This tale concocted by the gods was not a lie, for Ruidus' alien magic twists the fate of those who are born or embark on ventures whilst bathed in its vermilion light. Spooky! So Fern being Ruidus born is not the only shocking revelation that we learn this episode. During the confrontation, Imogen casts Detect Thoughts on Birdie and manages to dive all the way in. Laura gets a very long whisper and clearly learns some shocking information, which we later learn is that Birdie and Ollie have been working with Ira, the Nightmare King, who is described by you as being a mad scientist who was cast out of both the Seelie and the Unseelie court. This explains why Ira recognized Fern as a Callaway and decided to spare her. He clearly knew her parents fairly well. Birdie explains that this is an alliance of convenience, that they just needed someone who knew things about arcane machinery, and Ira was the only person really who fit the bill. It is extremely suspicious though that Ira was working with Treshy, who we know is enmeshed with the Paragon's Call, who is led by Odahan, who is seemingly working against the party's interests and against, what Fern's parents are trying to do. I was actually really surprised that nobody in the party brought this up as like a weird sticking point, that, you're working with the Nightmare King, but the Nightmare King is also working with Treshy, and potentially he could be playing both sides. But to be fair to the party, so much stuff happened to this episode that it was just like, ah! We also don't really get a satisfactory explanation about why so much time passed for Fern versus Fern's parents. Although Birdie says that Murray has domain over her Fane and that she can tweak things and twist things as is needed. This gives out very big hag vibes to me, because we know that hags are, some of them are still Fey creatures. They can live in the Feywild, and that they can twist and morph their environments around their homes to whatever kind of vibe they're given off. Also, I just want to mention how all of this amazing stuff is happening, and then Sam is wearing this ridiculous outfit, which was an outfit that he wore for a live show in Campaign 2. It's like the Leprechaun moment all over again. That was a completely unnecessary entrance. Today's video is sponsored by the Mammoth Chronicles Kickstarter, which launched today. This Kickstarter is packed with so much content for your D&D games. In fact, it is a year's worth of 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons content, ranging from levels 4 to 11, which we love that high tier content. There are 8 high quality playtested adventures which you can play linked together as a full campaign, or you can use them as standalone adventures. Plus, there are 131 STL mini files which you can print so that you have exactly the minis that you need for the adventures. These minis are gorgeous. They have such great anatomy and details. They're just very cool. If you're like me though and you don't have a 3D printer, that is okay, because you can use their digital minis, their Roll20 and VTT tokens, or you can print out their paper minis. There are over 80 stat blocks, over 30 battle maps, over 50 magic items, and over 30 NPC cards. The adventures and the minis are all centered around these really cool themes like a radiant dragon empire, abomination werewolves, infernal blacksmiths, and eldritch plane shifters. You can get all of this content digitally, or you can get it in a beautiful 250-page hardcover book. So make sure you go and check it out today. I have put a link in the description below directly to the Kickstarter. Don't miss out. Okay, back to the video. Okay, so let's check back in with you. The party end up striking a deal with them to give Fern's parents a month, up until the apogee solstice, to try and work out whatever it is that they're doing, and then at the end of that month they need to give back the crown, and it was kind of implied give up themselves as well. Yu also shares a magic item that they have, which is a mirror, a hand mirror, and inside that mirror are shadow versions, corrupted versions of Yu's kind, these assassins, and that these shadow assassins will go after anybody that the mirror is pointed at. At this point, I am pretty convinced that these mirror shadows are the ones that attacked both the Erishari and the Loomis twins, you know, figures dressed in grey, highly trained assassins that then melt away into nothingness. It seems like it's gotta be. So the deal is struck and Yu makes their exit.
Take your basic ass looks and get the out.
I change into Ashton and I'm like, so long, mother. I'm angry.
Bernie slams the door.
Hey, if you've been enjoying this so far, please don't forget to subscribe, and if you like, you can also support me on Patreon and YouTube. Thank you so much to my members and patrons for their support, and a special thank you to new patron Admiral and to Yasha. Birdie suggests that they all head over to Hondir's house, who is a goblin working here in Bassaras, and he has like a hideout because he's kind of a doomsday prepper. Hondir is a member of the Grim Verity, who he explains is doing everything within their power to learn as much as they can about Ruidus. The reason that he is in hiding here is that the Grey Assassins have been steadily murdering all of their members, and in fact only about half of them remain. This completely abolishes the theory that I've talked about over the last few weeks, which is that the Grim Verity is trying to unleash whatever power is contained within the moon. In fact, it seems like it is the complete opposite. Hondir explains that there are ley lines across Exandria, and that at times of an apogee solstice, these ley lines can fluctuate and even change, and that the ley lines have changed many times over the history of the world. We have actually seen one of these moments of change in EXU Calamity, when Laren, using the apogee solstice, managed to create a new ley line, which she originally created with the idea that Avalir, the Flying City, would be able to use that ley line to travel to different planes and to different realms. But instead, that ley line is actually used to kind of shoot these two primordials across the dimensions, essentially scattering them and destroying them. In retribution, the Lord of the Hells destroyed the continent of Dominus, and all that remains of it now is the Shattered Teeth, which is a small handful of islands off of the coast of Taldore. The reason I'm bringing up the Shattered Teeth is that Hondir mentions that there are a few locations of these ley lines within Marquette, and one of them could be in an ocean northwest of the Odoron Wilds. So I think, I don't know, you guys can help me out in the comments. If you imagine this map as like a globe, I feel like that makes the Shattered Teeth kind of roughly within that location. Which would also make a lot of sense, given that that was where a lot of magical power with these ley lines happened in EXU Calamity. I don't know, it could potentially be a stretch, but I'm just so obsessed with the idea of like the remnants of Avalir being in this ocean and the party like going and finding them, because I just think that would be really cool. Hondir also shares some literally world-changing information, which changes everything that we know about the canon of Exandria. He shares that ancient texts from the city of Vasselheim have been stolen by the Grim Verity, and these texts indicate that Ruidus was not always in the sky. That does fit with kind of this story about the gods finding this alien entity and then locking it away into Ruidus. But that is not what is the most shocking. The most shocking thing is that these texts seem to indicate that there were two other deities that no longer exist in the Pantheon, that have just disappeared. What? You can't just throw 2 extra gods at us like that? Were these 2 gods imprisoned in Ruidus, which is when it appeared in the sky? Are they related somehow to the 2 primordials that Laren supposedly destroyed? I don't know, there's just too much to think about. Let me know, let me know your theories in the comments. This also kind of plays into the narrative that the Lord of the Hells spun during EXG Calamity. He sort of talked about the prime deities not telling the whole truth and that they're sort of being more than 2 sides to the story. Of course, we can't really trust the Lord of the Hells as far as we can throw him, which is not very far because he's a big, giant demon monster. But I just think that's really fascinating, and I'm so excited about what this could be. I can't speak coherently because it's very exciting. There is like no time to catch our breath from all of that though, because then we also learn that Homdir is or used to work at the EOS seminary, and he has met Imogen's mother.
What was your mother's name?
Liliana?
Liliana Timhold.
Yeah. Do you know her?
We've met, though it was a while ago.
Not a while?
It was a while ago.
A while ago.
She was a number of our, how do I put it? Our volunteers for part of the Oman archive study.
Yeah.
See, there are Ruidus born all across Exandria and have been for as long as the moon's been out there. But the rate of Ruidus born births has been slowly accelerating in recent times. This was part of the study in the archive, not my specific study. I was more in ley line patterns, and all of us kind of comparing and aligning notes for this. But I do recall that there are occasionally rare Ruidus born that exemplify a stronger connection with the Ruddy Moon.
How long ago did you last see Liliana?
Gosh, it must have been 12 years, maybe.
12 years?
Imogen's mother possessed similar powers to Imogen. Man, there are so many like NPCs from the character's past just like floating around out there that I just want desperately to meet. They all gather their stuff. They all get ready. The plan is to go out to the Callaway layaway to meet Ollie and to see the machine that they're working on, and then come back in time for their meeting with the Paragon's call in the evening. But apparently it's a few hours drive away. I don't know how they're going to fit it all in. Seems like a foolish plan, but hey, sometimes the foolish plans are the best ones. And they all drive out of the city. I am sure I have missed some things, so please let me know in the comments any details, any tidbits that you found that I haven't talked about, and all of your theories about all of this. Now, last week I asked for everyone's ideas about what the backpack on Odahan is, and most of you, probably all of you, seem to think that it is a jetpack, kind of like the Mandalorian. I am so down with that. I think that would be really cool. I do want to talk about this theory though, because I really enjoy this one. This theory talks about how there have been some similar influences from the show Arcane, which it's so good. You have to watch it. But they suggest that potentially the backpack contains a substance like Shimmer, which in Arcane was this kind of drug-like substance that gave the imbiber like superhuman strength, but it also kind of like twisted them to sort of this monstrous creature. This also ties in with the Blood Hunter subclass Order of the Mutant. That is a subclass which uses alchemical concoctions to fuel their blood magic power stuff. I do the words good. So potentially Odahan could be a blood hunter, and this backpack could be something that she uses in her combats and battles. I also want to point out that so many of you commented that FCG seems to have been inspired by Ben from Treasure Planet, and I need to admit that I don't know what Treasure Planet is. Is it a movie? Is it a book? I don't know. Please don't roast me too hard in the comments, okay? Thank you so much to Mammoth Factory for sponsoring this video. All right, until next time, bye!
You know what you want.
So that was your action.
That's my action!